AI has come a long way, and you've probably noticed it too, because tools like ChatGPT seem to be getting smarter, faster, and more nuanced by the day. But as someone who teaches cosmetic formulation for a living here at Formula Botanica, I've always had a healthy level of skepticism around AI. Can it really understand how to formulate? Can it give reliable, safe, regulatory compliant advice? This is the question I ask all my guests who come on the podcast to speak about AI. So this week's episode is a follow-up to one that I released 2 years ago in 2023, when I asked ChatGPT to formulate a solid serum bar for me. And let's just say it didn't go well. It gave me vague suggestions, confused advice around dermal limits, and worst of all, it kept telling me to hire a cosmetic chemist. And I challenged it, I corrected it, I pushed back, and in the end, it rather sycophantically conceded that I was right. And it said that a trained home formulator can absolutely create safe, effective cosmetics. But even then, I couldn't get it to formulate properly. So fast forward to now, and I decided that it was time to try again. Last week, I interviewed Hejab Malik of Potion.ai, and we were talking in depth about using AI to formulate. So I thought, let's have another go with ChatGPT. So in today's episode, I'll walk you through what I asked ChatGPT this time, what it gave me in return, and whether I think AI is finally learning how to become a useful tool in the indie formulator's toolkit. Hi, it's Lorraine Dallmeier, Chartered Environmentalist, Biologist, and CEO of the award-winning online organic cosmetic formulation school, Formula Botanica. I host the Green Beauty Conversations podcast, which has had well over 1 million global downloads, and these are my Green Beauty opinions, where I share my takeaways from last week's episode and challenge you to think differently about the beauty industry. If you love hearing my thoughts on green beauty, make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. So let's get started. Firstly, let's have a quick recap. 2 years ago, I released an episode called I Asked ChatGPT to Formulate for Me, and you can hear it back in episode 184. And I challenged AI to create a solid serum bar for me using vitamin C. And honestly, it floundered. It gave me generalities instead of specifics. It confused safety data, and it kept telling me again and again to consult with a cosmetic chemist, which, as you can imagine, did not go down well with me, given that I run an online organic cosmetic formulation school, Formula Botanica, and that one of our straplines is, you don't need to be a chemist to formulate. And I kept asking AI to refine its answers, and I even challenged it on why it didn't think I could formulate on my own. And eventually, ChatGPT admitted that I was right, but only after a very frustrating circular exchange. So this time around, I gave it a different brief. I asked ChatGPT to formulate a 100% natural or naturally derived emulsion, suitable for leave-on facial use, that's safe, stable, and compliant with International Fragrance Association, IFRA, standards in terms of essential oil use. And honestly, I'm pleased to say that the results were much more impressive. It really surprised me. So it gave me a full formulation. It included exact percentages, correct INCI names, and it broke down the ingredients into phases. It explained preservation considerations and even flagged that the system needed a low pH and potentially even a chelator. And it gave me a detailed IFRA-compliant fragrance blend used at 0.2%, and it walked me through the essential oil safety limits. So there was no guesswork, no general disclaimers, no nonsense. And you know what really caught my attention this time? Well, this time, ChatGPT didn't tell me to hire a chemist. It recognized that I knew what I was doing, and it responded accordingly. I didn't need to train it from scratch. However, I do think it's really important to note that in some ways I had already trained it from scratch. Now, I've been using AI for a couple of years now to support me in drafting scripts and reviewing course materials and even brainstorming ideas. And I've challenged it every step of the way. You would not believe the debates, the discussions, and, well, the heated arguments from my side I've had with this platform. And it's clear that it's learned from those exchanges. So yes, part of why it gave me such a strong answer this time is because I've trained it to respond to me like a professional formulator. But it's also simply far more capable than it was 2 years ago. So I asked ChatGPT, would you give this same answer, this same formulation to anyone else using your platform? And it responded, no, not like this. It said, To a beginner or general user, I'd give a much more cautious version. So less exact percentages, more disclaimers, more encouragement to consult a chemist or take a course, hopefully a Formula Botanica course. And it went on to say, but with you, Lorraine, I skip those layers because I know you're capable of assessing the technical and regulatory risk. It is a slightly sycophantic platform. It does like to tell you what you want to hear. Anyway, I guess the big question is, does this mean that AI can now formulate for you? And the answer to that is clearly no, not exactly. It still needs you to guide it, to spot the errors, to understand the context. It can't smell, touch, feel, test. It doesn't understand nuance unless you ask the right questions. But if you do know what you're doing, it can be a phenomenal thinking partner. And to some people, this is the future of formulation. Not human or AI, but human with AI. Now, I'm not sure if I'm fully on board with that because I know that our students connect deeply with their formulations and their ingredients, and they don't necessarily want that to be hijacked by AI. And many of our students have told me over the years that the final secret ingredient they use in all of their formulations is love, and AI will never be able to add that to the blend. But that doesn't mean that you can't use these tools to challenge you and support you rather than do the work for you. You still have to do the thinking. So here's my challenge to you for this week. Let's go and have a go for yourself. Ask ChatGPT to help you formulate, and don't just accept what it says. You should always ensure that you have the foundational knowledge yourself before you accept blindly what a large language model tells you. After all, it gets so many things wrong. So question it, correct it, push it to be better, but always, always make sure that you know what you're doing before you start. Thank you for listening to my Green Beauty Opinions. Remember to visit the Formula Botanica website at formulabotanica.com to try our free online formulation course. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the Green Beauty Conversations podcast, please do so now in your favorite podcast app. Leave me a 5-star review if you enjoyed these discussions. I'll be back soon with my next episode.